And speaking about Zaporozhye Nuclear Power Plant, there have been attacks recently again. And frankly speaking, I don't understand what Ukraine is trying to achieve there, because it's absolutely illogical to target. If they claim that Zaporozhye is their territory, and those territories which are now part of Russian Federation and including Crimea, Ukraine claims those territories to be their territories, why would they put all that region at risk? Because it's a serious risk of nuclear contamination if something happens there. Of course, they cannot hit the reactor itself, and the reactor is like cooled down now, but there is still a storehouse of toxic waste, and there is like another facilities around which could contaminate the area and pose a major threat to ecology, not only in the Ukraine. Say, here is the map from Russian mod, and it's from the last year. But if you look in the lower left corner, there is like possibilities how that radiational contamination may spread, and it can even reach Berlin and Warsaw, and that wind might even go to Scandinavia and to Russian north and to Scandinavian north. So it is like I see it as a very big threat, and it can be something like of a scale of Chernobyl maybe if something happens there. So why would Ukrainians attack such a facility? Is it a suicide, or what could it be, and who could be behind that?
Well, I mean, it's clearly a strategy that's been in the works some time in the Zelensky government. The goal isn't, I believe, to get that kind of outcome. The goal is to create the perception that that kind of outcome is a possibility, and therefore have the International Atomic Energy Agency say we need to bring this under control, international control. And, you go back to the game plan that Ukraine's been pushing since 2022 to get international peacekeepers deployed on the soil to remove the territory around there from Russian control. And now you've created a precedent of international troops deploying, into Ukraine. That's something the Ukrainians would hope to then, grow upon to bring it into this conflict. It's their only chance of survival. So that's their goal. I don't think their goal is actually to create, a ecological, catastrophe. Their goal is to plant in the minds of people the potential of such a catastrophe, and hope that gets the international community so concerned that they will impose their will on Russia. But there's nobody imposing their will on Russia right now. I mean, not in Ukraine. Russia's not losing. They're very strong. They're very confident. The statements of the Russian ambassador at the UN the other day should have been a shot of ice cold water on people, where he said that the world needs to prepare for the only outcome of this conflict being unconditional surrender of Ukraine. And so, the Ukrainians are looking at that. I'm seeing headlines today out of Kiev where everybody's just saying it's getting really, really bad on the front line. It's getting bad then politically, economically in Ukraine, that they can't hold out much longer. They have no means to defend themselves. And so as the situation becomes more and more dire for the Ukrainians, I think you're going to see them promote more and more extreme, actions designed to engender, NATO intervention. The problem is Ukraine is governed by people who long ago gave up caring about Ukraine. I mean, how can you call it, they turned their back on the Istanbul communique. If they had embraced that, they'd have Kherson, they'd have Zaporozhye, they'd have a referendum about the Donbass, they'd have political dialogue about, Ukrainian connectivity with Crimea, and 500,000 men would be alive. Tens of millions of people wouldn't be displaced. $1 trillion worth of infrastructure wouldn't have been destroyed. But they opted not to do that, and now they're paying the price.